Hey, yo, what is good, guys? Welcome back to another video. I made a list of stocks that you guys should be buying by year end so we can make a lot of money together. We're going to be talking about stocks to be added to the long term and also some short term trading stocks because we personally trade options here as well. With that being said, first one on the list is indeed Intel. So everybody knows about those rumors of a potential Apple partnership, and it will be a foundry supplier for Apple processors. Intel has been kind of slow from the start of the year and even past couple of years. I did call this one out a little bit a while ago, honestly, like a couple months ago to get Intel at $19. That's when we got in, but I personally sold it at around that $40 zone before, and I kind of regret selling it already, but I do want to get to some levels that I can get into it once again. And I mean, it's going to be more expensive than $19, but we're going to be talking about that here. Some of you guys, if you guys were here for that, you guys are definitely benefiting. Comment down below if you guys still have it. But a lot of things have been happening ever since then. You know, we have that $5 billion deal with Nvidia and the deal with the government, and it is up 100% so far from those $19 lows. With that being said, some levels that I'm personally going to be watching is around that $35 level. And maybe if we can touch that $30 zone, that will be great. We did have a minor setback. You know, we know we got some bad news with AI in general. Microsoft potentially said that they were going to, cut down or they weren't making as much money. But with that, I mean, it came out saying that they didn't make those accusations. So AI came back again. We seen Nvidia and other stocks like that punch up higher, and Intel was one of those. I did do some plays off of the lows, and honestly made some decent amount of money. Some plays I will be watching that $40 level, a call option from there, maybe a potential bounce, maybe like a dollar move, getting a dollar in the money and then selling those options. I get my options like 3 to 4 weeks out. So keep that in mind. But those are some good plays. But this one, I am looking to load up on my long term, and that's what we're talking about here, 35 to that $30 level. Make sure that you guys follow me on my X. I post about news on the fly, everything you guys need to know, and I post these plays live. So go check it out. Next one we're going to be talking about is a China EV company. Ticker symbol XPEV. So they recently reported a great quarterly revenue and celebrated their 1 millionth vehicle and working humanoid robots. And humanoid robots has been pretty big, but this is a China company, so it's not going to benefit off of what Donald Trump said recently. But Tesla and some other names that we're going to be talking about a little bit later. We're not going to be talking about Tesla here necessarily. It's already way too high right now. I'm not buying it at these levels, but US humanoid robot companies will benefit off of that. But this is a China humanoid robot stock and also EV. It's kind of like the China Tesla, but it's not as good as Tesla, of course. But with that being said, man, we're going to be on a humanoid robot race. And honestly, China has been killing it with robots, but we did see Tesla come out with their humanoid robots running and stuff. So that's pretty good as well. But honestly, with this race going on, you're going to see more money getting pumped into it. And this is one company that you should look at. Was also a big money play that came out. So the calls will expire January 21st, 2028. So it does have some time, but it was a $3.3 million. The strike price is at $15. So they're deep in the money already. But there was a call option that was placed a while ago, honestly, a couple days ago. But honestly, they're already benefiting so far. But with that being said, man, they're banking big on this, but they're already deep in the money. With that being said, I think we could push back up to 20, 25, and maybe even $30 with this one. With that being said, if you can get a push back down to the $19 flat or maybe even 18, that would be good for your long term. And then also just see some pushes down to that 19.5. You can play some call options on this one. Next one on the list, we're going to be talking about gold and silver, basically just precious metals in general. But silver has been making some decent moves, and gold, honestly, we've been seeing gold make some decent moves this whole year. But with that being said, man, if you guys want to know where to put your money at, put your dollar at, save it a little bit, this is some good investments to make. We're going to be looking at the ETFs that moves with it. So SLB and GLD. You can also just buy physical if you want, but physical just takes more to, manage and stuff like that. So that's why we're looking at these because they're cheaper. You can get a share of silver for $50 right now and a share of a GLD for $400, which honestly is a little bit high right now, and I would wait a little bit longer. Honestly, man, we see rate cuts and stuff like that with the economy kind of showing a little bit of weakness. You can see these stocks or these metals go up. So this is one thing that I do recommend investing in. So for gold, honestly, I might wait for that 385 level. We're pretty close to it, but just loading up a little bit there. And you can also see it make some bounces off that 385. And then for silver, I might try to load up at 50, but I don't think we can see 50 again. So maybe that 5250 might do as well. But I do have a lot of cash right now, and I do want to start investing. And that's why I made this video and looking at these stocks. But there's some stocks in a little bit that I'm going to be showing you that I'm really, really willing to invest in. I'm going to be explaining why, but when those stocks come up. But silver is up over 90% this year, which is insane. And I think gold is up like similarity, maybe like 85 or something like that as well, which is insane for this year for these. So I do recommend looking into them, but they might be a little bit overbought right now, but they always go up year over year anyway. So don't mind the chart is a little bit more messier, but next we're going to talk about Nvidia because I mean everybody talks about Nvidia, but I really just wanted to talk about where I want to load up to Nvidia at, and it is indeed that 170 zone. We already missed out an opportunity. Honestly, had my mark, didn't buy it. This was a good call option zone and some shares. So if we do end up bouncing below this level, I do recommend getting into some calls. Maybe like a couple months out for this one. But with that being said, man, last time you would have made a decent amount of money, went all the way like $10, which is insane the next day. But with that being said, man, this is one that I'm watching at that 170 level to load up on some more shares. This is one that I kind of missed out on. Only have like 10 shares at $90, which is insane. But if I would have got more, because I had more money at that time, that's when I loaded up a lot on Apple and stuff like that. But honestly, this one would have made you a decent amount of money, but I do want to get in at that 170. And the cool thing about this, the current average price target is $250, and everybody knows about NVIDIA, so we're not going to dive too deep into it, but they're fueling the AI race. Right now, we do have some, I mean, it's not really holding up pretty strong, but it is kind of holding up strong at the same time. We're just getting a lot of catalysts right now saying that AI isn't as profitable and stuff like that. And we are getting people like Microsoft, Amazon making their own chips. So do stay tuned for that. But with that being said, I think 170 is still going to be a good zone because who knows, maybe next year we'll see it at $200 to 250, like those price targets are saying. And or even like short term, we did hit some highs of $212, which is insane. So honestly, man, if we can get back up there, that would be kind of dope. So we have another odd one. We have Salesforce, CRM. Salesforce reported a third quarter revenue of 10.26 billion, slightly below expectations, but their adjusted earnings of $3.25 topped the estimates of $2.86 per share. So that was pretty good. And honestly, we've been seeing a big rally with this one. I would be a little bit patient, watch how it reacts to these levels because we might get a little bit of a sell off, maybe down to like 250. Maybe you can look at that 250 level first for like a call option back up because we might be able to get like a little dip off of that and then bounce, and or just watch that 250. If we bounce down even more, you can see maybe a load up at like, I don't know, maybe this one might be a little bit longer, but I might look at that 230 to that 220 again. But honestly, man, it's kind of rare to get there, but we did see some big spike upwards and then some big sells. So if you can get it back down to that 220, I think this one will be a safer asset to hold as well. The performance obligations rose 11% to 229.4 billion as AI-driven products hit 1.4 billion in April. And the company also raised its full-year revenue and earnings outlook overall. So this is one that I am looking at, so I do recommend looking at that one too. Next one on the list is Path. This is one that has been moving a pretty decent amount. And honestly, man, I'm going to be looking at it back to that $12 level. If it can bounce back down, have, like kind of like a little bit of a sell off like we had before with this little breakup off of this level. And if we can get a slow sell off, I'm going to definitely load up at $12 to 12.90 to 13, honestly, just at $13. But honestly, this is one that I do recommend looking at as well. But this one is going to take some time, but you can play some call options and put options on this one. I don't have any recommendations. I'm not playing options on this one myself, but you guys can just have this one on your radar for the long-term hold because you could potentially make a decent amount of money off this one. But it did top expectations with third quarter revenue of $411 million and adjusted earnings of 16 cents per share. The company reported strong margins and positive free cash flow. Shares jumped after UiPath forecast fourth quarter revenue roughly in line with their expectations. So this is another great one, and they just basically blew up after earnings. So if you get like a little sell-off, we can potentially load up into this one. So talking about on those robotics, man, we're gonna be talking about iRobot, IRBT. So the recent surge followed reports of potential executive order from the Trump administration aimed at boosting robotics industry. This development has sparked optimism among investors about the sector's future prospects. So basically, in short, like I said before, more money going into robotics. This is a good stock to look at. iRobot, have it on your list. Next one, of course, Netflix, man. Honestly, we have been selling off a decent amount, and we've seen a big day on Friday because they did acquire Warner Bros. So they pitched the deal as a consumer cost-cutting bundle with HBO Max. The company framed the merger as a pro-competition to ease regulatory concerns. But they did indeed admit that it's not really going to expand their user base overall, but the talks also face political pushback, including Pentagon criticism of some content and GOP objections over Netflix potential market power right now. But with that being said, man, who do you know that doesn't watch Netflix right now? This taking over cable TV, everything like that. So a price level that I'm looking at personally, honestly, 95 is still a little bit too high for me, but I might load up a little bit at 95 and then put more money into it at 90. This is normally this basically a diversification for me. So if I do get it, I'm gonna try to get it at 90 and honestly just hold this one for a couple of years. But everybody uses Netflix. We do have Apple coming out saying that they're going to try to up their streaming platform, but honestly, Netflix already has it as all. So 95 to that 90, but honestly, man, if we can get down to 85, I'll feel a little bit more confident about this one. But some final ones, man. These are some stocks I talked about in the past, and these ones blew up already. BBAI and ATAI. I sold both of these, and honestly, BBAI was a regretful one because we got this one pretty low at around that 260 level and we sold it at around like $5 or something like that. But I mean, still made a decent amount of money, see money, take money, stuff like that. This was a swing trade anyway. But now I'm looking at BBAI for my long term. So the crazy thing is that if you're in the United States, you'll literally get scammed, and that's BBAI. And honestly, with them already being in the government, imagine the other contracts that they can potentially get. I'm saying potentially, okay, but like if it gets some more contracts, this can potentially be the next Palantir. But it is taking a little bit longer to grow. That's why I kind of sold it so early. But we are up at like that $8, $9. We've seen $10. So honestly, man, I'm personally waiting for that $6 to $5 hit. I do like $6 though. I'm not gonna lie, I do like $6 a little bit, but looking at it a little bit more in the zoomed out time frame, I do like $5 a little bit more for this one. So watch that $5 level for BBAI. I know a lot of people like to swing trade this one as well, so it does have some big moves, but I'm personally looking for it in the long term for $5. So honestly, I do recommend scooping this one. And last but not least, ATAI. This is another one that we made a decent amount of money on, but we sold a little bit too early. Honestly, it was a while back. I'm not even gonna lie. But when I seen the high of $7, I was like, oh my God, like I've never seen this at $7. And honestly, I haven't looked at it in a while. And I seen it $7 and kind of made me feel a certain type of way. But we did have a big sell-off overall. And honestly, man, I was thinking about scooping it at around that 350 level, and then I missed out. And then it did rally up to like 445, not really too much. And now we're having a little bit more of a sell-off. So I am gonna be looking at that 370 level once again. And if we get down there, might load up on some shares and just swing trade this one, maybe $1 in the money or something like that, and or just hold it a little bit longer and then maybe sell it like $7 if you can get back up there. But really, depends. But it does look like it is kind of rallying back up. Let's just see if this sell off continues, and or if we start rallying again, that would be great. With that being said, though, smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.